Welcome, everyone, to ARTIVISM, the power of art for social transformation. Today is the season 9 finale. The mission of this interdisciplinary, multi-institutional global collaboration is to engage people in transforming society through the power of art to generate a movement with committed social artivists in response to historic global concerns, generating community through multidisciplinary teamwork for a more dignified and meaningful coexistence, however you define these terms. The goal of this initiative is to nurture confidence in taking continuous action from wherever you are by means of reciprocity. Each season, one of our sponsors, Sing for Hope, sponsors an Artivist Award. And today we have with us one of our other sponsors from Gottesman Libraries, the Teachers College, Columbia University, Jennifer Govan, who will now announce season 8, which was the fall of 2024, Artivist. So the award will go to Jennifer. Let us know.
Yes, so it's my pleasure to announce the artist. We had proposals that came in, and we are very pleased to support the award for free art wellness workshops to a local senior center. The recipient is Danielle Cherry, and she will be receiving $1,000 to establish a program of wellness workshops for seniors. So combining healing, creativity, mindfulness, and other initiatives through these, offerings in her local community. So well done and congratulations.
Thank you so much. I don't know if I'm supposed to say anything, but thank you so much. It means a lot. It's definitely something near and dear to my heart, and I'm looking forward to sharing this exciting news with the senior center that's in my neighborhood. So thank you.
Would you like to tell us just a few words for a minute or two?
Yes.
What's your project? Yes.
Hi, how are you, Archie? It's great to see you again. I practice a form of art is referred to as fluid art. So it's an abstract art form that um, works with acrylic paints, and we don't use paintbrushes. So we're working with the energy, the element of air, and we use air to manipulate the direction of the paint. This project in particular, I am excited to take into a community space, specifically for seniors who may not have just access to certain programs. It is something that I've been wanting to do with them. I presented it to them in the past, but they've expressed that they just don't have the budget for something like this. So it will really be a nice way to sort of bring this into their environment for them to not only socialize and learn a new creative practice, but also to practice breathing with intention and just kind of like take a moment to have this creative break, but learn something new that they might be able to use in other ways. So I'll be able to bring in 2 workshops for the seniors at local neighborhood. I'm in Brooklyn, Bed-Stuy, so there's a senior center that's in my neighborhood that I have worked with in the past in different ways in my former nonprofit years, but I'm looking forward to sharing this exciting news with them. Thank you so much. Thank you.
I just would like to add that it was a unanimous decision because we all felt that, it's so community oriented and actionable and all about giving. And, that is the whole spirit of Artivism, what we can give out to the community and help others. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Congratulations again, Danielle. We look
Thanks,
forward to
Archie.
hearing what you will create and what you will inspire in your community. Just before we begin, and I'll give it over to Carolina, I just want to remind everyone this presentation is being recorded. It will be uploaded onto our YouTube channel, Artivism for Shared Humanity, which is used for educational purposes. Carolina?
Thank you to all. Welcome. And also, just as a reminder, that award is selected by the independent committee each season. That's how it's been done. Sometimes there are ties, sometimes there's a sole winner, as in this case. And we're happy to hear about Ms. Danielle Cherry's recognition for this project and definitely look forward to the results of how it comes about in the senior center. Now to today's marvelous closing, it is our pleasure today to have three of the speakers, of which I'm going to go one by one, telling you a little bit about in regards to their biography. Dr. Ashley Hamilton is the executive director of the Can Art Change the World Foundation, founded by French artist J.R. For over 15 years, Ashley has specialized in applied and community-based arts, using storytelling in many forms to create in transformation, community building, and social change in individuals and systems. Ashley has studied New York University, the University of Denver, City University of New York, and for multiple prison education programs. She was the executive director of the University of Denver Prison Arts Initiative for 7 years, securing a historic multi-million-dollar contract with the state of Colorado. She also co-founded the Beacon at Skyline, a correctional community re-emerging theater, a theater company for formerly incarcerated people, and the Circle, a center for artistic justice, an educational and training organization for previously incarcerated people and their employees. Welcome, Dr. Hamilton. Also, we have Tiffany Constantine, who is half French and half Brazilian, and comes from a family of artists, holding a master's degree in international relations and a bachelor's degree in letters and editorial translation from the Sorbonne University. She has worked with NGOs such as the Ford Foundation, UNESCO, Le Journal International, Casa do Menor, Os Tres Braços, Filhos do Marajó, and AEDA, Enfants de l'Amazonie. Having settled in Rio de Janeiro since 2015, she worked for France Télévisions as an interpreter, which is how she first connected with Casa Amarela by interviewing its co-founder, Mauricio Ora. Tiffany has been involved with Casa Amarela since March 2016, leading teams and producing projects. After 5 years at Casa Amarela, she became co-director and founder of the Independent Women of Providencia Collective. In 2019, she co-produced the Festival Planeta Ginga in celebration of Casa Amarela's 10th anniversary. In 2020, she represented Casa Amarela on the SOS Providencia Emergency Committee, alongside other important sociocultural projects in Providencia and their port region. She led the project and construction of the Santos Skate Track in Providencia and co-founded the national annual Novembro Negro Festival in 2024. Tiffany took over as the director of Casa Amarela recently. Welcome, Ms. Constantine. Also, we have with us today Damaris Damkin, who is an artist and community organizer born and raised in the U.S.-Mexico border of South Texas. Driven by her passion for art and social justice, she joined the Inside Out team in New York City in 2020, leading operations and assisting projects across the United States and abroad. As Inside Out project manager since 2023, Damaris oversees Inside Out's global operations and photo booth productions worldwide. Damaris received a double honor BA in Latin American Studies and Global Liberal Studies with a concentration in politics, rights, and development, and postgraduate studies in international relations from New York University. And her dream is for a world without borders. Welcome, Ms. Damkin. It is a pleasure to have you all, and Klaus, we look forward to your presentation. Take it away.
All right. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much, RG and Carolina, for having us. We've been really looking forward to this for quite some time, and to everyone who is with us, both watching and with us live today, but then also watching the recording. We're really excited to get to share with you about the Can Art Change the World Foundation, and thank you for the generous introduction. So just to start off, for those of you who may not know, I'm going to talk a little bit more at length. The Can Art Change the World Foundation is a foundation that was created and founded by the French artist JR. Just as a little reminder here of who we are. So I am Ashley Hamilton. I'm the executive director of the foundation, and I'm joined by two of my incredible colleagues, Damaris, who is the program manager of the Inside Out project, and also Tiffany, who is the program director of Casa Amarela Providencia. And I am also currently the program manager for our prison art program. And so we're going to spend the majority of our time today both talking generally about the foundation and Can Art Change the World, but also about our three main programs, the Inside Out Project, Casa Amarela, and the Global Prison Art Program. So just to start, we thought we'd share a little teaser video that sort of gives you a good overview of our work. You'll also get to see JR, our founder, in action. So I'm going to go ahead and I want to make sure I shared my sound. So I'm going to reshare one more time. There we go. Okay, great. And if y'all could just give me a thumbs up when I push play, let me know you can hear this okay.
Regarde tout le monde derrière, regarde, regarde les gens, tout le village. Qu'est-ce que ça te fait? C'est gentil.
For over 20 years, I have been asking questions with my art. We should do something about it. From the favelas of Brazil to the heart of Paris, the Sahara Desert and the North Pole. I created the Can Art Change the World Foundation to explore answers and to continue the conversation.
What we see changes who we are. When we act together, the whole thing is much more than the sum of the parts.
Through the foundation, we are harnessing the power of art to unite and support communities worldwide.
We've pasted some photos here. This is a giant refugee camp. There's almost 80,000 people in here, all from Mali, so we're right at the border with Mali. This is like a refugee camp that exists for a long time, but it's kind of been forgotten.
So we are founding and creating educational and artistic programs that nurture personal growth, promote community healing, and incite social change through art. Like in Rio de Janeiro, where the community center Casa Amarela is caring for the children and women of the Morro da Providencia favela through arts, education, and health programming. Or the Inside Out Project, a global platform that amplifies the messages of communities around the world through installations made of their portraits.
Ready? 1, 2, 3.
And even behind prison walls, where we're helping people find connection and share their stories.
Look at me, I'm down there in the bottom, like, you think anyone's gonna mess with my photo? No. Okay, we go.
And this is just the beginning. We are building a future where anyone can use art to reimagine the world with joy, belonging, and shared humanity. Can art change the world?
I think it can. Yo creo que sí.
It definitely can.
Absolument.
Con certeza.
Absolutely.
Let's find out.
So that gives you a little bit of a sense of our work, just as an overview. Hold on one sec. So you got to see there for a moment, or you were hearing JR's voice the whole time and got to see him in action. I want to tell you a little bit about our founder. For those of you that don't know, he has an absolutely incredible career, particularly over the last 20 years. He has done some monumental work that, if you're not familiar, I hope you can spend some time learning more about after our call today. But the French artist JR creates monumental public art projects that inspire passerbys to ask questions and confront their perceptions. After his first major project, Portrait of a Generation, in 2004 through 2006, which challenged stereotypes of Parisian suburban youth, he began working internationally. whether it was by pasting the faces of Israeli and Palestinian people on both sides of the separation wall in 2007, or the eyes of women on train cars in Kenya in 2009, or a giant toddler peeking over the US-Mexico border fence in 2017. JR's larger-than-life installations amplify the stories of everyday people and inspire dialogue. From creating at the Louvre with 400 volunteers to pasting alongside incarcerated men, he seeks to involve everyone in the act of artistic creation, hoping to create conversation and drive social change. So we'll be talking about this sort of at length over the next 20 minutes or so, and then we want to open it up and hopefully have a dialogue with you all. But the heart of the work that we're up to here at the Can Art Change the World Foundation is an extension of JR's work. So all of our main projects that we run on a daily basis, we financially support and operationally support through the foundation. All of them were inspired by a project that JR created in his own fine arts practice. And then we are continuing them on through our different supports. Additionally to our three main programs, which we're going to speak about, JR has also supported other one-off projects, fine arts-based projects that you can learn more about on our website. Yeah, there's a lot more to learn on our website in general, but we will spend most of our time today on those three projects. So this is one of the installations of Women Are Heroes, which was a project that JR worked on across 3 different sites in Rio and in Kenya. And he pasted the photos of the women in these communities here in Kenya on these trains, but also on top of the homes of the folks who lived in this community in Kenya. And then also in Rio, which Tiffany will talk more about in a little bit with the Women Are Heroes project there, pasted the eyes and faces and images of the women in that community on their homes, covering all of the favela there. And that project ended up inspiring and leading to Casa Amarela being born and birthed back in 2009. So I already mentioned this, but the 3 main programs again are the Inside Out project, Casa Amarela, and then our Prison Art program. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Dama and have her share about the Inside Out project first, and then she'll hand it back to Tiffany and I.
Hi, Ashley. Thank you. And hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us and for your time. To introduce myself, my name is Amaris, and I'm the program manager for the Inside Out project. We're based here in New York City, but we work internationally facilitating installations since 2011, now over 150 countries. And throughout the years, when JR created the project in 2011, he was awarded the TED Prize. And when he was given that prize, he was asked, given the opportunity to grant him a wish to change the world. And so he created the Inside Out project as a way to share his practice to communities anywhere, and become a participatory platform for people to tell their own stories in their own words, using their own portraits. So you can see here in this image that we have of the pasting that we did at the London, it was the Tower Bridge in London in 2021. We've been able to accomplish really amazing art installations in spaces where you would not imagine to see portraits. But this has all been done thanks to the participation of over 500,000 people from all over the world. Here is an installation in New Delhi. And the core of the project is that with our team here in New York, we facilitate and provide the support for these projects to happen, but the messaging and the portraits and the groundwork is always laid down by the members of the communities from all over that reach out to us and share, something that they want to either raise awareness about, or a message that they want to celebrate, or a story that they want to tell, or just bringing visibility to members in their community that they feel have not been, there's a narrative that's been framed around them that they want to reclaim, and they want to take ownership of, and use art to transform their spaces and transform perspectives. And so the way that the project works is really simple. Participants from communities will photograph each other, and we encourage, there's no maximum limits. We've done installations of 50 portraits, we've done installations of thousands of portraits, and we just encourage everyone to invite as many people in their community to be photographed and join the message. We also encourage this process from beginning to end to be documented, because these images and videos and interviews are what lives on our website as an archive, and a map, and a living collage of the stories that live on after the installations are done. They remain archived on our website, and these are the images that we share on our platforms and social media. Then the community send us the portrait images that we print here in our studio into giant black and white portraits that are printed in 3 feet by 4 feet posters, that we then ship abroad internationally to 153 countries in the world and every single continent, for the community to then make an art installation and a wheat pasting mural with the faces of their community. And this is how over 90% of all of our actions have happened around the world. We've also been able to bring actions to communities with our photo booth, which is a traveling truck that we're able to drive internationally and within the United States. We have 2 trucks that we can drive around the country to create massive installations. And then also in other places where our truck can't visit, we've been able to create photo booths inside of shipping containers and abandoned locations to transform and re-signify locations of meaning with the faces of the community. So it's a completely public and global participatory project that has been going on for over 14, now going into 15 years. Next year will be our 15th anniversary. And when JR began the project, it was really an experiment. There was no end and goal in sight for what they wanted the project to be. They just said, well, if it's a free project, eventually at some point, we're going to run out of material to make actions happen. But as more and more people participated, more and more people donated, and the project continued, and it's been able to sustain itself thanks to the support of communities and individuals from all over the world.
Dama, I'm realizing I kind of sped past it, but I wonder if you might want to also mention the education piece as well. I think it was back here, but it might be really interesting for folks on this call to know just a little bit more about our education numbers.
Yes, absolutely. So when, as I mentioned, the project began, over time, just the trend of messages and subjects and spaces where the project would happen really grew organically. But one thing that we noticed was that more and more actions were taking places in schools and educational environments. And when we picked up on this trend, we decided that we wanted to create an education program to support further the educators and the students that were participating in the project. And now, since we created the education program, over 60% of all of our actions take place in schools and educational settings, whether that be in a K through 12 setting, or in a retirement home, or in an after-school program. And any space where there is an enrichment or curriculum, the project is really open to facilitating conversations and reflections and education through arts in a more engaging way. And so, the subject of each action within these education environments has also ranged from gender equality, identity, diversity, mental health, combating racism, raising awareness about sustainability and the environment. And really the communities and the students are the ones who decide what they want their action, what they want their portraits to represent.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of educators on this call, or arts-based educators, arts-based healers. I'm sure you can all already imagine the amazing vehicle that this could be in so many different spaces. But I hope maybe you dream about, and you're in the spaces you're working, from the senior center to a more traditional classroom and beyond. The project is open and available to all of you and anyone who's interested. So please be in touch with us. We can also make sure you have website links if you're interested in creating your own group action or maybe passing it on to someone you know. Thank you for that, Dama. Oops. And I'm going to now pass it off to our amazing program director, Tiffany of Casa Amarela.
Thank you, Ashley. Thank you, Damaris. Hello, everyone. It's a pleasure to be with you all. Thanks for having us. I am Tiffany, the Casa Amarela director, and Casa Amarela is a very special project. It was the first social project that JR created over 15 years ago, after he went to Morro da Providência, which is the first favela here in Brazil. It is 127 years old. So he came on his own after he saw at the news something very tragic that had happened to 4 young people, and he wanted to extend the Women Are Heroes project to the women, the relatives of these young people. After that, he met with Mauricio Hora and co-founded Casa Amarela with him. And here we are now. So we are officially a community center. Morro da Providência, we provide families with year-round educational, artistic, and cultural programs, creating opportunities for learning and growth. We offer a diverse range of classes, obviously observing the needs of the community and its inhabitants. So it goes from obviously dance, music, writing, to computer skills, entrepreneurship, health and wellness, English, skateboarding. And we've been working for children and teenagers mostly for the past 15 years, but since 2021, we have also been working with women. So after we reopened our doors in 2020, after 6 months of, pandemic and confinement, we really decided to restructure and reinvent ourselves, also observing the impact of the pandemic on our participants. So in order to do that, we divided our participants into 4 groups because there were so many. So today we have 4 groups. The first one is Kekeres for our little ones from age 3 to 7. They have activities such as literacy, school tutoring, social emotional skills, Afro dance, music, and movement. After that, the 8 age group from 8 to 13. It's our larger group. It has actually been divided into 4 subgroups because only 8 A's is about 50 children. And they have classes such as literacy, English, Afro dance, music, skateboarding, school tutoring. Then Somode for the teenagers, computer programming, health education, literacy, English, digital contents. And finally, our women, literacy, communication, entrepreneurships, mathematics, mental health support, and the ongoing professional training courses, such as sewing, culinary classes, hairdresser, craft, and natural cosmetics. Over the years, we started some of these classes and activities turned into bigger projects which started to perform outside of the favela and become almost independent projects, right? So we also created our own festival because at the end of each year, we really wanted to show the community what we were doing with our participants, and we started to promote end of year performances of our music activity or dance class. And in the end, after the Planeta Ginga festival that we promoted, that we co-produced in 2019, we decided to have our own festival. And we also created the first music orchestra of the favela with children and teenagers, who is called Orquestra Luna. At first, it was a project that which goal was to give access to children in the favela to classical music, which is something that is considered, well, it's quite, it's not accessible to everyone. And after that, it became also a music project that appreciates the local and Brazilian composers. So nowadays they play classical music, but also contemporary, mostly Black composers. We have our own digital inclusion program, understanding that technology is very important when we talk about professional training and job market. And when we think about our participants' lives after Casa Amarela, where are they going? What will they do? And we have many companies who are partners of ours, but we really want our young people to be working there in the future if they want to. Our independent women of Providencia, the first collective of women in Providencia, who now has two main educational programs that I've described earlier. We built the first skate park at the top of a favela in 2021, Santos Skate Park, which also is a multicultural space that is used by other projects and other activists from the favela. There is even an open air cinema project that we hold there once a month. Our Colere collective, which is our Afro dance collective in Providencia. The picture that you're seeing, the image, is from our last presentation at our last annual festival. And we also have a dental and mental health program for all our participants. These are one of the ongoing projects. There are so many more that you can learn about on our website as well. And I think, I don't know if there's a next slide. I think the next one is only, yes, it's pictures. And thank you all. And I hope you have many questions.
Thanks, Tiffany. And then last but not least, I'll be speaking about our newest program that is very much in the early days of development, our new Global Prison Arts Program, which rounds out our three main projects at the foundation. So this program was inspired by a project, RG, that you spoke about earlier, Tehachapi, which is a project that JR did over the course of 4 years from 2018 to 2022 or 2019-23, where he went and worked in the maximum security prison in California, Tehachapi, which is about 2 hours north of LA. And he went and he started with taking, or he, over the course of those few years, did a few different projects. One was him taking portraits and creating a mural on the actual ground of the yard, which you'll see here in an image in a moment, where you can see them pasting right there. And then also took audio recordings of the incarcerated participants. And then you can actually listen to their stories. Of them, talking about various different issues and different questions connected to their image. So that project, and then some other art projects as well, mural projects around the facility over the course of those few years. So I think he went back 5 or 6 times. And that really inspired recently, in the last year or two, the expansion of the prison program and prison work based on JR's methodology. So this program is very much in its early days of being formed we want to continue to create inside out projects in prisons in the US and around the world, but also to do arts-based and educational training and courses. Right now, we're working on developing a brand new tablet-based course that's going to be available to incarcerated people across the US about JR, about arts-based education, arts-based healing, and it'll be available to 1 million incarcerated folks across the US starting this summer. So from that kind of work to one of our Inside Out projects to also we're really excited to be working with some of the previously incarcerated folks who participated in the Tehachapi project in the prison who have now gotten out and been released, developing workshops with them and having them actually go back inside the prisons and teach those workshops because they got to experience JR's work Inside Out and having them share the project and share their learnings and about their experiences, both with the project and in their kind of general transformation and growth through their release. So this project is very much in kind of the early days of being shaped, which was really excited. This is the Yard, the project that I mentioned, that also has the audio recordings connected to it. It's really powerful. If you want to listen in, we can make sure to share that link. So I think, I wanted to mention this as well. So we had a really exciting activation earlier this year in February. Our team, JR, and several of the folks who've worked in Tehachapi over the last few years on these various mural projects, the Inside Out project, and myself, we all went back to Tehachapi and did a screening of a documentary that was made over the course of JR doing that work over those few years. They also filmed a documentary. It was released last year in 2024 and was released publicly in France and then is available on Masterclass here in the United States. But in February of this year, we brought it back into the facility and had 2 screenings for 250 incarcerated men at Tehachapi. So they got to actually see the documentary, and some of the men who had participated in the projects with JR were still there and got to see, see the documentary, see themselves, see the way that whole story unfolded. But it was also really powerful because we brought 3 of the previously incarcerated men who had been involved in the project and who had gotten out, who were working with. They came back in with us as well and got to share, how they're doing, about their experiences being released. It was just a really powerful, beautiful day. So that just happened. So with that, I think we'll pause. We've been kind of talking at you, sharing with you, and we're curious what you're thinking. Again, beyond our 3 main projects that we just discussed, we also have supported several other one-off projects that have more of a beginning, middle, and you can read more about those, learn more about those on our website. We can also discuss them as well, but these 3 projects are really what we're up to in the world and how we're using art to change the world. So with that, I'm curious, questions, thoughts?
Well, thank you, Ashley, Tiffany, and Damarie for your presentation today. Before we go on to questions and a discussion, thank you all for being our artivists for today and for everyone who was joining us at the season 9 finale. We just wanted to remind everyone that ARTIVISM's ongoing exhibition, I think this is the 4th one, is Give and Receive, from the virtual to the real. It is now open at its first venue, which is at Adelphi University's Performing Arts Center. In June, it will be moving on to the Offutt Gallery at Teachers College up at Columbia University. For more information on this and all of the series, past and upcoming events, please visit the website, adelphi.edu/artivism, or just Artivism for Shared Humanity. Facebook, Artivism for a Shared Humanity, the same for Instagram. If you would like to get more involved, you can email us at artivism@adelphi.edu. So let's open it up to questions. I did want to say that JR, I think it was a late 2000s, also did murals outside of Rikers Island, correct? Yes. And the Tehachapi, I remember what was most powerful about the film was hearing from those that participated in the program that had been recently released. Where they talked about, what that experience was like for them and how it gave them another sense of being, I think, once they were released and how important all these programs are, behind bars and then in reentry and such. So before I go on, because I can, as everybody knows, I can talk a lot. We'll open it up to everyone else. Danielle Cherry says, amazing work. Melissa said, yes, it's very inspirational and makes me think. It really makes me think as well. Let's see. Any questions or comments from anybody here today?
Like you, I can talk a lot too, but I do have a couple questions.
Yes.
So regarding the casa, I'm gonna say it again. I'm gonna mess it up. My Spanish, my Portuguese is awful, but say it for
Casa
me.
Amarela.
Amarela.
Oh,
Okay,
okay.
so when I hear it, I can
Is that-
say it. Casa Amarela. So do you ever have like visiting artists or artists in residence that come and do different, maybe one-off or short-term things and then go back to whatever? That was one question. And then my second question is regarding the Inside Out project within the or things within the prison arts program. Do you find that those are events that are kind of one-off for your organization and that's it? Or do you find that they are maybe those one-off things, but they open the door for other artists and others to go in and do things with inmates? So those are my two questions.
Great. Tiff, you want to answer the artist in residence question?
Yes. Hi, Melissa. Thank you for your question.
Hi.
We did have some artists over the past 7 years that came for artist residency. Most of them were um, came through JR and had wonderful experiences for the artists and for ourselves. And after that, we really wanted to create our own artist residency program, also being able to welcome Brazilian artists from other social projects from other states in Brazil, which is huge. But we paused it this year because we are actually currently building a second space for us at the top of the favela, because Casa Amarela is actually quite small nowadays for all the amount of people and activities that we have. So once the second space is up and running, we absolutely plan on returning to our artistic residency program, and then we will have a house where the artist can stay and obviously develop its project. And the other house will, all the activities will be running as usual, and so that both can cohabit, because we do have a moon on our rooftop, which is supposed to be the room for the artist. But having the room as the only place when the artist can stay can be a bit tricky. Most of them stay in the moon the first night, and then they all ask us, "Is there any place I might stay?" Because it's very unique, but not for a 2-3 weeks residency. But it is in our plans as soon as the new house is ready.
Oh, but that's wonderful. Keep me in mind. I would love to come down and do something. I mean, I have a pretty well-rounded repertoire, but I just think that what you're doing down there is really, really amazing. And like we were talking, Ashley, I think it does really kind of tie into the work with the Ugly Doll Project.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we should definitely stay in touch. We're always really eager to bring, as many artists, connections to Rio. And yeah, I think we should definitely stay in touch and see what we can
Have
create.
passport, will travel happily.
Okay, great. Yeah. So yeah, we'll stay in touch. And then Dom, do you wanna, I think we could both kind of answer the second question, but I'm curious, if you can speak to ways that the Inside Out project in general has opened up like new opportunities, new artistic opportunities. Anything comes to mind?
Yes, definitely. So, I mean, what I can say is to just answer the question directly, the JR's involvement in Tehachapi grew as a result of the first project that he did. So it wasn't until after several times that they returned to the prison that we brought the Inside Out photo booth to the yard. And it was thanks to the relationships that were developed over time with his participation and the involvement that the participants had in his projects that the relationship grew so well within the Hachapi and the administration that they allowed the photo booth to come in. So that was historic because for that action that we did, we had 300 participants on the yard, pasting all together with the guards side by side. And that was such a big step from even the first project, which already was so impressive in the yard that they did, that just answers, your question in the impact that was developed over time. And specifically in this context, the project came at the end. Inside Out was brought in at the end. But in other cases, as you saw in the video where you see we had the unfurlings of the giants in different refugee camps, where we also brought the project and we involved more participants in as part of the community process. So they do go hand in hand. I think it's, there's so many examples that we could share about the impact that happens just internally with one person to see themselves printed in such a large scale, the change that the impact that has in that person's way of seeing themselves and seeing their relationships with others, that it really you see it play in real life when the action is coming to life, to fruition, as the pasting is happening.
I think one thing that you mentioned that's really super important that I try to instill in my students over and over and over is relationships. It's like you don't just walk into somebody's space and take over and do this really cool art project and walk out, right? That it has to come at the base. It grows out of the base of relationships and that sincerity, right? Of wanting to do something creative, but there's a sincerity there and that relationship is built. And I just try to impress that to them as future art educators over and over. Like, you have to have relationships in the community for a plethora of reasons. And I think that's it, is just to complete and be able to engage with the artwork. That relationship is where it starts. So thank you both.
Yeah, any other?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, no, I thought you were going to ask a question.
Yes. Apropos to that impact that you were discussing, I would like to do a follow-up in regards to perhaps sharing some best practices on how to quantify in regards for funding and getting new people on board to support these initiatives. Any words on that?
On specifically like data collection, program evaluation, is that what you mean? Yeah. Well, I think, we're in an interesting moment here at the foundation. A little bit of backstory is that the foundation, the first project of the foundation started in 2009, inspired by the Women Are Heroes in Rio project. And then Casa Umbrella was born, as you heard from Tiffany. And the actual structure of the foundation started out as a 50 or as a nonprofit in Europe, and then moved to becoming a 501c3 here in the States in 2018, and was sort of acting as a financial shell, as a way to support various projects in different ways. And it's only really been in the last year or so that we have become sort of more formalized in our practices, and are really pushing the foundation to a whole new level and growing and sharing about our work. And so with that has come the development of a lot of program evaluation. prior to the last year, there was also data collection program evaluation specifically happening on the Inside Out project and collecting data through Inside Out, which Donna can talk more about. But right now, it's actually a huge mission for us. And so it's a well-timed question. And I think for me, my background, I have a doctorate, and I've done a lot of arts-based research in the past and a lot of evaluation of arts-based education. And I think that there's always this really interesting balance, and we've been talking about this a lot as a team, between storytelling, right? As a way of showing the impact. In particular, in our work here at Can Art Change the World, we have such powerful visuals because of the work that JR does, right? He's a fine artist, he's a photographer. And so we have incredible, powerful visuals, if I do say so myself. But I mean, I think it's like you could tell just from looking at the materials, because JR's work is just so incredible. So we have a lot of that content, which is its own way of telling the story of why this is so powerful to have those visuals. But then coupling that with quantifiable data, right? The numbers, the facts that oftentimes, particularly for fundraising, we need. We've been really building a lot of that out right now at CASA, IOP, at Inside Out, and also with our prison program. And I think that, I mean, it's a hard question in terms of like, what does it exactly look like? Because it kind of really depends on what the project or program is. I think we're really interested, depending on what the project is, in showing how our mission is impacting the participants. So, for example, maybe in like in the prison program, specifically showing that from beginning of start, before an incarcerated person starts the project, throughout the project, and then at the end of the project, what has their experience been, and maybe specifically showing, has there been a shift in their sense of belonging in community, or their sense of confidence, their sense of well-being? Are they experiencing maybe more hope or more sense of purpose, right? So I think always thinking about what the original mission and intention of your project or program is for your participants, and then figuring out the questions you have to ask to measure if that's occurring or not. And then, doing that at the beginning, maybe the middle, and then ideally the end of the project, so you can show what's happened from beginning to end. So we're really taking one project at a time and building that out. So yeah, that's kind of the macro and the micro, I think, is coupling the emotional, the powerful storytelling through visuals, through some more qualitative data, through narrative of the participants, quotes, them talking about their experiences, seeing them experience the program, and then coupling that with those numbers. Does that answer that question? Okay.
Yeah, because as you know, this is a global initiative as well, and we have various people that might be looking for these best practices on how to apply to their own programs at their local levels. And it's so difficult sometimes with the arts in general, because everybody's like, show me numbers. But in the arts, it's more emotional, cognitive changes that we all have to, like you said, take it step by step and come to that information that would at the end continue to supporting this
and show the impact.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, and I'm a huge,
Mm-hmm.
In my own personal practice, I'm a huge proponent of arts-based research, right? So actually showing the data through art. But when it comes to maybe, grant writing and fundraising, a lot of times people want to see the hard data and the numbers, which is fair. It's, how a lot of our world moves and works and understands impact. But I think that there are really interesting, creative ways to show this kind of ephemeral, emotional this maybe kind of pro-social change that occurs because of an arts-based experience, there are just really incredible examples of ways of showing that data through numbers. So I think, yeah, that's probably a whole other artivism meeting, but it definitely has been done and can be done.
And also,
yeah, and
a line of thought, it's not per se preaching to the choir, but when you're going to ask for funding from other industries, right? And then you have that competition where like, well, as a company, should I fund an art project or perhaps a scientific project or an educational? And it's those balances where we see various artists across the world having a couple of issues in regards to maintaining their funding sources, because there's the ecosystem is a little too saturated, too competitive, and they're like, I don't know what else to do, right?
Yeah.
And
I also
also
think in those
internationally
moments,
speaking.
yeah, right. Yeah, definitely. And I'm not sure there's like a one size fits all answer, right? Because it's so complex depending on where you are in the world and what exactly your work is and where you're seeking your funding from and all of those things. But I think as like a kind of global note, one thing I will say is that, since the beginning of time, we've been using art to understand what it means to be a human and what it means to be in the world and to make sense of the human experience and to connect with others and to, work with this, whole, what it means to be alive and what it means to process, the experience of being alive, let alone also using art to learn and educate ourselves and others. And so I think always coming back to that there has been a through line of the artistic experience throughout all of humanity. And so speaking to the qualities that are just sort of inherent in what we all do here as artists is always my go-to, because that can't be proven away. It's always going to exist.
I think in terms of numbers and visuals, the programs in the favelas that Tiffany is directing or coordinating, those programs are incredible. They've never existed in favelas, correct? And if they did, it was maybe one or two. These are programs for all, young children and older women, from the arts to education. I was actually very surprised to see how many. And then for the visual, the smiles on everybody's faces, right? The dance, the festivals are amazing. And just I'm jumping back to what Ashley said about powerful images. I think one of the most powerful images I've ever seen, that JR, shared, was the one from the young people in the Parisian suburbs. And it was one where there was a young person from the suburbs who was holding a camera, right? And when you saw that image, this black and white, very powerful, photograph of this young person holding this camera, what everybody assumed it was a weapon or a gun. And it's like, no, look closely. It's a camera. It's that stereotype, right? For me, that was a really powerful image. It's like you really have to look closely. Don't go with your first, idea or stereotype. Oh, this is a young person in a suburb, in a ghetto, and a whatever, and what they're holding has to be a weapon. It can't possibly be a camera. Let's see. Any other questions or comments? Yes.
Thank you, RJ, for mentioning this. It is one of our strengths to be able to work with almost any people from any age. There are other projects in the favela, obviously, but not one that works with that many people. They will either work with only children and teenagers, only women. This is something that we built over the over time, and obviously, long term fundraising is what has enabled us to build long-term projects, and to have literacy over the past 5 years. And because, Casa Amarela today it isn't an art project, it is an art education project. Because I mean, we could describe ourselves by answering to the question that is our own name: can art change the world? Well, when it comes to Brazil, yes, but when combined with education. Melissa asked about our artistic residency program. The first artists that came through JR, they came in and they brought their art, their culture, their openness to the world. And obviously, the people at Casa Amarela, the participants, were also always so open and reactive and eager to immerse themselves. But in the end, we were talking about children, sometimes of 8, 9, 10 years old, that didn't know how to read properly. So what does that tell us, about our project? How do you collaborate with someone's emancipation, if not also observing and attending this particular problem? And then we understood that we had to complement everything we were doing with not traditional, but with education. So yes, school tutoring, alphabetization, and for all the ages, because we also had women who were enrolled in the professional training, sewing, culinary, but some of them couldn't do the list of all the ingredients they needed for that recipe, that particular recipe, or they had huge problems with mathematics and they had to calculate or hold hand roller to sew for the modeling part of the sewing project, and they couldn't. So we understood that we had to complement also this professional training for the women by implementing an educational program for the women. We didn't think about it at first, and then we understood that everything that we were implementing, we needed to think about it from age 3 to 65, for example.
I mean, you're giving us a view.
Go ahead.
You're giving us a view from the outside in, right? Very quickly, I'm sorry. We have Flavia Ramos Matusi from Florida State University. She joined a little bit late, but she says she's Brazilian and has also worked in the favelas of Rio de Janeiro. Hi, Flavia.
Hello. Oh, I don't know if you can see me. Sorry.
Yes. Good to see you.
I was doing something else and I was so excited about this to hear somebody who is also working in Brazil, working in the favelas. I work in the favelas doing popular theater way back in the 80s. I'm pretty old. So I was doing this actually in the late 70s. So I'm very interested in this. I'm very interested in getting in touch with you and the people who are working in those areas. I'm an art educator right now. I'm a faculty at Florida State University, not working in the arts, but I'm trying to. I work with international development, international projects. So I've worked in many different countries in Latin America, in Asia, in the Middle East, Africa. But I would love to get in touch and contribute any way I could, with people who are actually in the trenches, and providing art education and creating opportunities for those who don't have many opportunities to engage in any type of, arts and education projects.
Amazing. It's great to meet you. And Tiffany, maybe we can exchange contact information and be in touch and absolutely see what we can create.
And Narja knows how to find me.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, and I just pulled our contact information back up on the screen, so you can reach us there too. Yeah.
So I don't miss it.
I have a follow-up also here with the comment from Ms. Tiffany. One other question that has gone across here in Artivism is that perhaps sometimes we do have the infrastructure, but no participants. Because at the end of the day, sometimes the issue is also the mindset of the community that we're trying to partner up, communicate, kind of like work together with, right? And you're like, yes, look, we have these beautiful classes, we have this beautiful progress, opportunities, and this and that. but nobody's showing up. Any words about that?
Well, that might be the. Oh, sorry.
No,
Go ahead.
go.
No? Well, that might be the only problem that we don't have at Casa Amarela because there are so many children out there and teenagers who are just waiting for an opportunity. You know, school here in Brazil, it's only half time, half day. So there are in school either in the morning or the afternoon. All our participants go to school in the morning. So the afternoon, we know they'll be there and they even arrive before we do. And when we arrive at Casa Amarela, they're at the door. They're waiting for their class, you know. And if we're late, they make us know that we're late. Where were you? My class is starting in only 10 minutes. And you know, we do have a very important data, which is that they actually spend more hours at Casa Amarela than they do in school. They will spend maybe 4 hours in school a day, and some of our groups will have up to 4 activities a day, maybe five. They'll spend 5 to 6 hours at Casa Amarela. And another thing that we implemented right after pandemic is a food safety program, because we noticed that when the public schools reopened after the confinement, they were not serving lunch anymore. So our kids would get to what would arrive at Casa Amarela and they didn't have lunch, so they were starving. And after one or two activities, they would, you know, they wouldn't be that much focused. They would even leave earlier, which is something they never did before. So we understood that we had to also have not only the mental health and the dental health program, but a food safety program. So they get at Casa Amarela, they have lunch. After one or two activities, they have another lunch, and they even have dinner. So they really spend a lot of time. It's a huge amount of time that they spend at Casa Amarela. But we do have for some activities, you know, they used to be quite reluctant to new things, but with time they learned to trust the process, and they're reading books, you know, sometimes something that they didn't consider doing at first, and they're passionate about reading now. So yes, I could spend hours talking about Casa Amarela.
Mm-hmm. And I think I was gonna add, Carolina, that I've had kind of a huge range of experiences over the years, specifically working in correctional spaces and prisons, and I spent several years working in juvenile jails, and I experienced a lot of maybe reticence or resistance to coming to the creative writing class or the theater class or the dance class or whatever it was that I was up to. And I think that I have a few different thoughts. One is that creating an environment where the participants can maybe slowly but surely create a sense of trust and safety in the facilitator and also in whatever it is you're going to be doing with them. So being really mindful about the curriculum, the activity that you're bringing, and how it is culturally responsive to the participants that you're working with, and not sort of just your idea of what you. I think we kind of mentioned this earlier, like you were mentioning, Melissa, just coming in, hey, this is what we're going to do. This is how we do it, and not really having any sense of co-intentionality and co-creation, and that, you know, really coming at it personally. I come from a Freirean pedagogy, like that we're co-creating this experience together. I have just as much to learn from you as you're going to learn from me. And so I think coming from that space, thinking about what you're bringing in terms of activity, and then really engaging facilitation, right? Like facilitation is an art form. And I think that I feel really strongly about this. Being a strong educator facilitator is its own dance and art form. How you structure a class or a workshop, your energy, what you bring in, the way that you are helping the group to form and go through the natural group progression stages, all of that, right? And then I'd also say one trick that I really learned over the years of working specifically with currently incarcerated folks is engaging the leaders. So particularly in a space like prison, where there's a very clear hierarchy of power in prison, is that if you can pull in the leaders in that space and they get involved and engaged, they signal to everyone else, this is okay to do. This is cool, or this is safe, or this is, whatever, right? So, and that can look totally different. It's going to look very different from prison to an elementary classroom to a, depending on what community you're working in. If you can pull in people who have clout in that community, who are seen as a leader, who are seen as the people that everyone sort of consciously or unconsciously looks to for direction, and you can get them engaged, you'll be fine. So that's been a big one in my learning.
If I can add one more thing, with the Inside Out project, what we find, it's a very fun social experiment that has kind of proven itself because of the growth of the project. But every single time that we see an action or that we do a photo booth activation in a community, we're often visiting spaces that we've never been to before. And often what we see is this same pattern of people are always curious. They're always going to ask questions or just observe because something is piquing their interest about the project. Something is new that they haven't seen there before. If they're in a space that every day they come into the space and all of a sudden there's something there that wasn't there before, they're gonna be curious. And one thing that we always invite is to allow them that space to be curious and just gently kind of show them what the project looks like and kind of nod to them that this is also open for them to come in, but without forcing it onto them. Because especially when it comes to photography and the project, it's in your face. The portraits are huge. The pasting is enormous and people are shy. But when they start to see other people also kind of like their ears going up and kind of showing around, and they start to see for themselves that this is, like Ashley was saying, safe and fun, and it's completely free. And it takes 2 seconds, and all you need is just, you don't need to do anything. You just stand there and you get your photo taken. Then that's where the magic starts to happen. And then the reactions start to come, the surprise, and the magic really works. And it's so simple because all it is a portrait of a person, but the reaction that you see from people of all ages, it doesn't matter how old they are, whether they're 5 years old or they're 65 years old, it's always this huge smile of surprise, of like wow factor, of being, you just seeing themselves. And it's a really kind of, there are very few words that can really kind of pin down what that experience is like for someone. And I would say that when we're in somewhere, especially in places in different countries, if we don't even speak the language, it's very much just like a human nature type of social experiment where you see people just slowly start to gravitate. And when they see more and more people, and when they see the participation, the mural, more and more posters, because if it's just one poster, no one's going to want to be there if it's just one. But when they see it's hundreds, then they're gonna say, oh, okay, like, yeah, me too, I want to do this too. So I will just give that food for thought about there's things that we can kind of harness in our own natural way of being curious and asking questions that we can use to the advantage of the project and for the purpose of the community, for the function of the participants themselves, because it actually ultimately comes from them, and nothing would happen if it weren't for their participation.
Precisely, definitely. What a way to close season 9. Thank you, team. This has been amazing. Also, we'd like to say thank you to all previous artivists that have been part of the series. Of course, to Professor Aguilarakis, Ms. Govan that is here present to Sing for Hope, and all the other Artivism team members from beginning till now that have made this initiative possible. we have a tradition here in Artivism that when we close the session of the day, we ask for a key takeaway for action from our speakers. And that is, for the audience, once they see and review the information at whatever point, right? Because now this is going to be on YouTube. What will be each one of you, right? Miss Stephanie, Miss Damaris, and Miss Ashley, what will be your key takeaway for action?
Either of you want to start? Dama's is easy because she's got it's a very clear. You don't want to.
I can go. I thought you were going to say more, but I'll say,
Oh, no.
My key takeaway is you can start your own inside out action today. It was too easy, but I guess I'll just go ahead and take the bait. You can start your own inside out action today. The project is, as I mentioned, completely public and open. We operate year round. Every day we speak to new people. We receive new inquiries and submissions and proposals. So please, if you know 50 people, take their portraits, send them our way. We will print them and ship them back to you, and we'll be happy to be in touch with you and other communities to make projects together.
I guess mine is obviously, even if you've seen all the presentation and the website, nothing is more impactful than being at Casa Amarela, and climbing those huge stairs and going inside a favela and seeing the very particular and unique reality of that territory. So please come and visit us if you come to Brazil. There's nothing like it. Yes. Thank you very much.
And then I think maybe I'll have two for my sort of two different hats I'm wearing on this call. One is that if you haven't gotten to see it, either checking out the Tehachapi project on JR's website or the documentary on Masterclass. It's really powerful, and learning more about the whole journey that he went on and our team went on with the incarcerated artists in Tehachapi. I would absolutely call you to watch it. And then second is with my executive director hat, if you are interested in donating to our foundation, we always love that support. And any amount, there's no amount too small. It will go towards our work, our programming, our continued mission. And you can both learn more about us in general and also donate to us on our website at canartchangetheworld.net. Thank you so much for having us, Artivism. Thank you, Carolina. Thank you, RG. And thank you to
Flavia has one question before. Yes, sorry. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, I'm so sorry that I was coming late. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, that I was coming late. This sounds so exciting, and I'm looking forward to see this is going to be on YouTube. But I just want to send something to the presenters, and I think I put my phone number and my email on the chat, just because as I'm talking to you, I'm just drafting a proposal for the National Endowment for the Arts. It's unclear if the funds are going to still be there, but the name of my project is Portraits of a Nation. I'm also, a former graphic designer and art educator. I work with Paulo Freire and Augusto Boal. And but I'm trying to collaborate with local schools. I'm in Florida and develop this project. So if you have an interest to participate in this, and if I can tap into your resources and share our resources as well, it would be great, like to integrate something that, because I do have to work with local organizations, and if I can work with foundations, I don't know if it has to be located in Florida, but I think we can collaborate in different areas. So I'll be looking forward to.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, absolutely. Let's email. And I mean, I'm sure your brain is already putting together a plan, but I think there's so many ways. We You didn't get to hear this part. You'll hear it when you watch the presentation, but we work a ton with schools and in classrooms already. And so there's an easy, clear connection there.
Where are you
So let's definitely
located
be in touch.
geographically?
We're in New York City, Dama and I. Tiffany's in Brazil, in Rio. But we also we work globally though. So we've worked in 153 countries around the world, the Inside Out project specifically. But we also have a sort of sister studio in Paris and in Geneva as well. So yeah, but we travel all over. Florida's easy. We were just in Florida. So yeah.
Okay. Okay. Well, next time you should come to Tallahassee, Florida.
Yes. That sounds
But
great.
this is what
Okay,
the
let's
Artivism
be in touch.
initiative
I'm
also
serious
does.
about it. Yeah.
Definitely. It's about connecting and getting everybody to know what the great work that everybody's doing, right? It's about
Yes.
those artists that donate their time, their resources, their knowledge for a greater good. And with the network here in Artivism, that's our ultimate goal, is our nurturing change for a more meaningful and dignified society. And you can be part of it as well, because all of us where we are right now have everything needed, because at the bottom of the day, what you need is just the will, right? And that's how we all got here, just by the will of seeing that change from everything that is going on in our world, that has been going on. We can be the change agents right now. We don't need to wait for the future. We have a lot of experience from the past already that we can build on. But if we continue waiting, where are we going to end up? So it's all up to you, all of you artists out there, to continue this marvelous work, of which one example is happening in this call.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you to our sponsors, Adelphi University, Sing for Hope. Thank you, Jennifer, for coming on and announcing the recipient. Congratulations to Danielle. Thank you to Gottesman Libraries, a Teachers College at Columbia University. We will be in touch. Thank you, everyone, and we'll see you in the fall for season 10. Bye-bye. Thank you. And to
Thank you all.
Carolina, thank you, Carolina.
I
Bye.
miss you, ladies.
Bye. Good to see everyone.
Nice to see you too.
Muito obrigada.
De nada.